to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Skovron, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn, we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
34. They are 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, I do it every year, and I want to hit myself in the head with a bat.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome in. A very happy Wednesday to you. It is GameTime Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Another calm night before the storm. That storm, of course, is the Sweet 16 getting ready to take center stage tomorrow as the quest to crown a national champion. We get just a little bit closer. But in the meantime, we got plenty of NBA action going on here. A couple games in the NHL. We're getting ready for another PGA Tour stop before we get to Augusta, Georgia. And, oh yeah, that thing called Major League Baseball getting ready to take center stage tomorrow. Opening day across the land tomorrow. So we'll have a little something for everybody on that as well. But all eyes tonight going to be on a pretty interesting NBA slate of games, one we're all looking forward to seeing, especially with the Lakers back in action here tonight. They'll go next hour, 7:40 tip-off time. And the story with the Lakers is that, well, they haven't been good at all lately. And they are from number 2 seed in the West, trading for Luka Doncic and playing lights out to LeBron James getting hurt, everything falling apart, LeBron James coming back, and everything still falling apart here. No big man for the Lakers has been causing all sorts of problems. The defense has been non-existent, and now they're a favorite tonight once again on the road against an Indiana Pacers team who has been playing, well, some of the best basketball of the season, especially at home here, and no real big injury concerns. Halliburton is back. He looks to be healthy. And the Indiana Pacers opened up as a 1.5 point favorite, and now they're getting that 1.5 points. And the Laker faithful in the betting markets absolutely just blow my mind here. They just figure there is no way with Luka and LeBron that they could actually lose again, right? Can't be a 4-game losing streak. Yeah, I'm willing to bet that. I think the wrong team is favored here tonight with the Lakers and the Indiana Pacers. We are hearing right now breaking news, in fact, when it comes to the New York Knicks tonight on the second of a back-to-back, taking on the red-hot Los Angeles Clippers. There was some concern and questions as far as whether James Harden would be playing for the Clippers. Well, the answer is yes. He is playing tonight for the Clippers, as that game was just pulled off the board. I would imagine that is going to go back to being somewhere around, I don't know, 5.5. The Clippers as a favorite here. The total creeping up as well, 219 starting to pop up on the board, although I'd be very weary about the New York Knicks, sans Jalen Brunson and McBride once again. We had the Knicks had to play last night, had to play all the starters significant minutes, and now they take on a team that is more rested and, quite honestly, a 100% healthy Kawhi Leonard, Norman Powell, James Harden. It's a very scary Clippers team, also playing its best basketball this time of year. So it'll be interesting to see now with Harden for sure playing, where does the total keep going up to, and does it get a little ridiculous as far as the line goes? Is all the money going to come in on the Clippers? Can you get the Knicks at maybe 6.5, 7? Well, we've got about an hour to watch the markets and let you know on that one. But it didn't take people very long the minute they found out that Damian Lillard was out for the rest of the season for the Milwaukee Bucks. And then we learned this morning that Giannis not playing tonight in Denver. And boy, oh boy, people in the marketplace could not run to the window fast enough to bet Denver tonight, all the way up to 10.5. And I don't think the Joker's playing, but it doesn't make a difference. That game opened up as Denver a 2.5-point favorite last night. And then, of course, the Lillard news, and then Giannis not playing. And now it's all the way up to 10.5. And boy, oh boy, these are exactly the kinds of spots in the NBA in which bettors want to go contrarian. Fade the market move here. This is a monster, absolutely monster 8-point move in a situation in which, I don't know, anybody watch Denver play lately? Not exactly crisp basketball, to say the least here. And Milwaukee has been struggling, and we know the Milwaukee Bucks are a team with a ton of experience, been there, done that. This is a big ask at double digits here for the Denver Nuggets, and we're getting the same thing with the Boston Celtics tonight, who we were wondering whether, and I have no reason, there's absolutely no reason in this world that Jason Tatum, unless he is 100%, and judging from the fact that he already missed a game and rolled that ankle a couple of nights ago, there's no reason for him to be playing in this game tonight. But he was upgraded about an hour ago to questionable from doubtful. And the market, well, they're telling you they think he is going tonight. -6 now. The Celtics playing their 4th game in 6 nights. 3rd and 4 actually on the road. Not a great spot for the Celtics at all. And yes, they're riding a 6-game winning streak, but the Phoenix Suns haven't exactly been pushovers lately, especially at home with Durant and Booker back to their usual selves here. This feels like an overreaction because that game isn't until 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. Would anybody be 100% shocked if all of a sudden, 10 minutes before tip-off, we learn that, Tatum's going to sit tonight after all? I wouldn't want to be holding a ticket of -6, 6.5 with the Celtics when that happens. So, Phoenix Suns for me at +6 here tonight. I think that's a good opportunity to get, once again, a ridiculous overreaction for the health of a player on one team here. So I do think there was some value across the board in the overreaction of the NBA injury news here tonight. And it's always a good time and a very profitable opportunity to take advantage of the association in spots like this. We do have, of course, a couple of college basketball games leading up, of course, into March Madness and the Sweet 16 tomorrow. The NIT tournament resuming here tonight. First game up, Loyola Chicago and Kent State tonight. Then we'll have UAB, the Blazers, out in California for what feels like a month now. This will be their 3rd game out west taking on UC Irvine, who, without a doubt, one of the favorites to originally win this NIT tournament. UAB getting about 4.5. It's been all UAB money, by the way, all day long here, as that's a lot of mileage right now on UAB. But the good news is, one way or the other, if UAB wins this game, well, they're hopping on a plane, getting out of California. They'll head to Indy for the NIT finals. If not, they're back to Birmingham. Either way, they're getting out of California here tonight. The overs are continuing to get a ton of money this week in the CBI as well as the NIT. These other college basketball tournaments have been pure money to the over, little defense being played, and I don't see that changing very much here tonight as well. Handful of NHL games we'll talk about. Our good friend Cam Stewart going to join us here in just a couple of minutes as we get ready for more madness and Major League Baseball as Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Wednesday. The calm before the madness continues tomorrow with Sweet 16 in our sights. But we also have, well, Major League Baseball starting up tomorrow here around the country. Opening day. That's always going to be a lot of fun. And we're winding down the NBA season as well as the NHL season, and just a handful of games on the card here tonight. Nonetheless, some interesting ones, and who better to run down the full card here tonight than our man, Cam. Stuart in the house, ready to roll on this Wednesday, Cam. And if I got to hear Islander fans scream and yell and cry anymore about how our team blows and I don't know what to do, they should just sell the team. Like, my goodness, Cam, can they beat Vancouver tonight?
They can, but I'm not sure they're going to. By the way, the people that should be screaming and crying and flipping out are Ranger fans. You want to talk about this team? Like, you needed to beat the Kings last night. You get a 1-0 lead on a crazy goal, and then you give 3 straight. But here's the thing about Vancouver. They're in a dogfight for a playoff spot. Joe, let's be honest. They're probably not going to get there because the St. Louis Blues are red hot. And I mean red hot. Watch out for the St. Louis Blues, ladies and gentlemen, in the playoffs as well. With Binnington, if he makes any types of save with Neighbors, they got great players there. They got very underrated guys. And, Joe, they're doing it without their best defenseman and Colton Parayko, too. So this St. Louis team, battle-tested and underrated. Robert Thomas is a player no one talks about. They're very, very solid, but they don't really get the respect because they're playing in St. Louis, but they should. Trust me, if this was a Leafs team, they'd be talking about them all day here, but the Blues are good. Tonight, I have a lean to the Vancouver Canucks in this spot, but I don't really love that game. As for the New Jersey-Chicago game, I'm not laying 1.5 with the Devils. I kind of want, but I'm going to put them in a parlay. I got to find a dance partner. New Jersey, what a horrible loss to Vancouver the other night, Joe. They gave up a late goal with seconds left, and then Vancouver ended up winning that game too. And, New Jersey just hasn't been the team. It could be a get-right spot against the Blackhawks tonight. You can't lay over $2 with these guys, but I do think they're going to win the game. Finally, the Edmonton Oilers and Dallas Stars. This could be a precursor to the Western Final. 2 very, very good teams, Joe. I'm seeing 30 cents. I like Dallas in this spot. I know a lot of people will like Edmonton, but I just think Dallas is a better team despite some guys being banged up. I think they can go in there. I think they can beat Edmonton. I look at that total and say it might be a little bit light at 5.5, but when these good teams get together, a lot of the time they play that playoff brand of hockey and they don't really score. You know what I mean? They're feeling each other out, kind of like a boxing fight or an MMA fight. And then the goals tend to pick up after if there's not one early. So I lean over, but I really like the Dallas Stars. And am I crazy, Joe? The Anaheim Ducks, are a 30-cent favorite against Boston. I kind of like them. I am not going to be betting the Boston.
How do you bet Boston,
Cam? No, I ain't betting Boston.
I mean,
that's for sure.
They're awful. I can't remember Boston being this bad. And usually Anaheim, we love betting them because they usually, especially on the puck line, because I don't think anybody's been more profitable than them, either laying it or getting the puck and a half. I mean, they're home, but Boston just looks like they're waiting for the season to end here. Cam, do they not?
Great point, Joe. And this is the thing. There's a couple guys on Boston who have guts, but there's a lot of veterans on that team that just want to hit the golf course. This has been one of the worst years for the Boston Bruins. I'm just used to them kicking the Leafs' ass or, every playoff year going on a deep run before they meet a team like the Florida Panthers. But this is totally different. As for Anaheim, you're a young team with the guys who want to build upon what you've done. They've actually been a pretty gritty home team. I know it looks crazy. You're like, I got to lay juice with Anaheim. Well, I'm going to. I think the Ducks are the better play. I think they show up for a game like this. And I'll tell you one thing, they would love to beat a team like Boston down at home. This is the thing about these teams like San Jose and Anaheim. They get up for these type of games against original 6 clubs. So I will take Anaheim, Joe. I know I wish we didn't have to lay that juice, but I actually like them, Dallas, the Devils to win. Don't like them on the puck line. And I have a lean to the Vancouver Canucks against the New York Islanders.
All right, you got to lay it out for me here, Cam, as we talked last week about the Valspar there, and we had a whole lot of guys for the first round lead that were all tied there in that. Weather wasn't as bad as everyone thought it was going to be. Now we're at the Shell Houston Open, all a tune-up, of course, for Augusta coming up, but those first round leads going to be unbelievable here, Cam, aren't they not? I mean, you got to love what we've been seeing here lately.
I'm going to tell you, Joe, and I have to be honest with the audience. If my winners, my outrights, they'll break your heart. Like on Sunday, I'm sitting there with a Jacob Bridgman ticket. I'm like, wow, he's 1 foot away from a birdie. Instead, it goes deep. He rolls into a bunker, chunks a shot. He takes a double and ends up losing the tournament by a couple strokes. Thomas and McIlroy are there. But I will say this, Joe, once in a while, I'll give myself the old Barry Horowitz. First round leaders are my bag. That's my thing now.
Yep.
I didn't want to, I'm being honest, Joe. It's like I'm betting on quarter horse racing or short racing because I don't want to wait anymore. Tell me the damage after the first round, and that's what we're going to do. So I got some first round picks for you. I will have some outrights, but the first round is what I really like to attack right now. And Joe, Carver and I talked about it, and Keith Stewart talked about it on the network today on SportsGrid, saying there could be winds all over the place, and all these meteorologists and so-called cappers like, oh, we're going to take the early wave, the late wave. Well, sometimes the weather's a couple hours off, and that's why I don't like put my whole card that way. But this is what I'm going to do, Joe. What do we like to do? Hopefully, on your yacht one day we can get just down some Jaeger bombs and have a great afternoon of fishing. But I'll tell you, this guy on Sunday, you might as well throw me in the ocean. I'll be chum because this guy kills me on Sunday. First round leader, fine. JJ Spawn, let's go. He's playing great golf right now. A top 5 machine. Lost to McIlroy in that playoff, 48-1. Novocaine, a trip to the dentist at 85-1. A notorious hot starter. He might let you down on the weekend too. Sam Ryder, can't believe this price right now. Joe, 95-1. Where did Bo Hostler golf? The University of Texas. I'll take him at 100-1. And Charlie Hoffman, Waste Management's finest. He loves coming out of the gate. He's my horse, Joe. He might die at the wire, but I like him early in a short race. I'll give him at 110-1. After the break, Joe, I'll go over some outrights, but I'm going to attack the first leader market because the prices are so damn good.
I love it. I'm still trying to figure out how we get, Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy in a non-signature event, but it's got to be strictly a tune. It's the final event before Augusta for them. So it's got to be all tune-up, working on some things of that nature. But we'll go over some of those outrights, Cam. We'll take a look here at the opening day in Major League Baseball, get some of your thoughts on some teams that you are looking at coming up this season. It's all happening. You don't have to go anywhere here as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Slow play drum beat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Raineri when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn, we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience, who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
34. They have 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, I do it every year, and I want to hit myself in the head with a bat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Cam Stewart here as we're taking a look here at the big Houston Open, getting ready to tee it up tomorrow on the PGA Tour. We got one more after this, I believe, in San Antonio, and then, of course, the first major in Augusta. The Masters will take center stage. Big names in this event for it not to be a signature event. I never thought I'd see Rory and Scotty Scheffler, but I think they're there not necessarily to win the tournament, to work on some other things, Cam, but who would you take a flyer with to actually win this tournament when it's all said and done?
Joe, you bring up a really good point. I think this is really important this week. And let's be transparent here on the network. Sometimes in Sunday's golf, it's hard to win. There's a lot of guys in the field, right? So to nail a golf winner has been tough. Victor Hovland, we took him before, and then all of a sudden he figured it out when he says, I got no game. This is an interesting point you raised. Rory McIlroy's never played here before. This is his first time playing in this event. And Scottie Scheffler, his goal is Augusta. He hasn't been as sharp as he once was. He needs to work on a couple things. And this is what he's going to do in the Texas swing before they go down Magnolia Lane. He's going to work on a couple things. So I'm actually thinking the chalk in this situation, you know, Joe, if they're in contention on Saturday and Sunday, they're going to go for it. But if they're back, I don't expect a big run from these guys. They're thinking about the big picture. Rory, the career Grand Slam, and Scottie Scheffler to get back in the fold and to, you know, he's serving up his Masters dinner. He wants to host another one with another green jacket. So you look at the board, there's a lot of value. The next guy on the board in the 3-hole is Aaron Ryan. He's 28-1, and you're getting all sorts of great players at a very good price. Rye's played very well at this course, by the way, too, Joe, but I'll give you some outrights, and no, length is an important thing right here. Taylor Pendrith, that's a good price for the Canadian Taylor Pendrith at 45-1. He's been close before, so I like him. Sahith Theegala's been in a little bit of a rut, but now you're getting him at 50-1. That is an incredible price for a good talent. And other than Rory and Scheffler, there's a lot of guys he can beat here. Bridgman came third. I'm not going to get off him. It's one of those situations where he's in fine form, and I'll bet the golfer that's in good form. Thomas Dietrich, 55-1. Joe, do you know in his debut? Second last year. He's already won this year. I'll take him at 55. People don't want to get on Max Gracerman because he had a little bit of a hiccup. I don't care. That was his Players' Championship. He's a young guy. He's starting to figure it out at 60. And Sam Ryder is 140-1. He's actually hitting the driver a lot more straight. That price is insane. I would have put him at 80-1. So he's my flyer. But that's the six-pack this week, Joe. And as you notice, there's a lot of big numbers there because Scottie Scheffler and Rory in the field. And this is without Justin Thomas, Billy Horseshoe, who won the TGL, other guys on the list too, right? Schauffele's not there. So we have literally two studs and a bunch of other guys that are good golfers, and we're getting the third place guy at 28-1, not like a 12-16. Cantlay's not there. Nobody's there other than Rory and Scottie.
Yeah, it's interesting here. Have you dabbled in the future, Mark, with the Masters at all? Are you any idea on who you're looking at here?
I got Aberg at 22. That's the only bet I got. I got him a while ago when wasn't there, and I think he's about 18 now. It's interesting, Scott. How do you think about, what do you think, Joe, what do you think about these guys from LIV? This is what I wanted to ask you about. Sergio Garcia's playing better all of a sudden. You're going to get a crazy number on him. What about, a lot of these guys? Joaquin Niemann, I don't know if he's going to win at Augusta. What about Bryson DeChambeau? I know this sounds insane, but he's actually playing Augusta better every time he goes there. At first, he couldn't figure it out. Dude, you can't overpower this course. You have to hit off side hill lies and figure it out, but he's a smart guy. So I'm thinking it might be an interesting pick, Joe. I've only got one in Aberg, but I was hoping to get your thoughts on this. I think a lot of these LIV guys are going to be chomping at the bit, and you're going to get a good number on them because nobody knows they're still alive.
Yeah, Cam, I am with you on the LIV Tour guys. I mean, to me, the guys with experience on there, they're out of sight, out of mind. So I think you're going to be able to get a great number on a lot of these guys, simply because the betting public is like, oh, they're in a LIV. Who remembers? What? John Rahm? I mean, really? I think some of these guys, and they look forward to these majors every year just to stick it to the PGA Tour and the guys on it. So to me, there's a lot of guys that you can take at much better numbers now, Cam, than you might be able to get once that tournament starts. But how do you bet against Sergio the way he's playing right now?
I know. I'm going to sprinkle on Sergio. The guy's been on fire in the LIV Tour, and you're going to get a huge number with him, Joe. Baseball tomorrow, I think we agree. We're going to fade the Yankees a lot, but we're going to take them tomorrow at -145. I like Cole Ragans and the Kansas City Royals with cheese, and the Toronto Blue Jays Baltimore over 8.5 with that pitching matchup. We see some early bullpens with Eflin and Berrios, I'm thinking, Joe. So let's get it done. BYU in college basketball, one bet I've already made.
Done. Cam Stewart got it across the board. That's why we love him here. Cam, enjoy the madness. It continues. Much more to come as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we have plenty going on here as we get ready for madness. And we all know it's coming here as the Sweet 16 will take center stage tomorrow. And you got to love it, too, when we get to this point in the season where it's been a little chalky, but we've got, let's face it, we've got all four number one seeds still in. It's the first time since, I think, 2007 since we've not gotten a number 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 seed making it to this point, which means Cinderellas are out the window here. So that's the big issue that folks have with how chalky it's been. I know that the wizard, Mr. Kenny White, is been keeping his tabs on this. He joins us along, and I think we got CT Betts, Chris Thurston as well, ready to go. We'll get him in a minute for you. But Kenny, it has been chalky, to say the least, for a lot of fun. I mean, for the first times in a couple of decades where we got nobody higher than a 10 seed making it to this point. It's a little interesting. Is it a little chalky, is it not?
Yeah, Joe. Well, Nil changed the entire landscape of college basketball. Now these guys were amateur athletes. Now they're professional athletes, and the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And that's what's going to happen until the regulations and rules change on, governing bodies for Nil. So, yeah, it is the haves and have-nots. But now we have 16 halves. It is now time for March Madness, and the NCAA is going to look brilliant because for the next 4 days, we're going to see some great basketball games, and we're going to see some upsets. And I think there's going to be 4 upsets in the next 2 days, and there's only 8 games.
So you go, okay, so we're thinking big upsets. We think the chalk ends this week in the Sweet 16. Now, Kenny, if you were to reseed all of these teams here, would the top 4 change in your opinion, or are the top 4 seeds from what you've seen still Florida, Duke, Auburn, and Houston?
That would still be my top 4, Joe. That I think for the committee, seeding the top teams is usually the easiest job to do. So I think it's after that to, the 2, 3, 4 seeds, and even on down further, they make so many mistakes, but they usually get it right on the top 4, and they did. But after that, I can't give them any credit because, they really did they didn't do any justice to St. Mary's and Gonzaga. Those are 2 teams that should have been ranked much, much higher.
All right, so let's face it, we got, you're calling for outright upsets here. Covers or outright upsets you're calling for here in the Sweet 16?
Well, I'm calling for sure covers, but I'm playing money line too. I'm betting the dogs in almost every one of these games. There's a couple of situations I'm not betting the dog, but most of the games I'm on the dog and I'm on the money line on those dogs.
Sorry. So then let's start coming up here, I believe, tomorrow, Kenny, Thursday night. Florida is certainly one of those teams that a lot of people have thought, oh, boy, heads up. They were so close with UConn. Listen, all right, if they would have hit 75% of their free throws, Kenny, they'd beat UConn by 90. So, it goes both ways here. 5.5 is the open. It's 6.5 now. I think Maryland is the worst coach team left. And they only have 5 guys, Kenny. Anything happens to those 5 guys, Florida's got too much depth as far as I'm concerned. Is this one of the ones you think is on upset alert?
I do think it's upset alert, Joe. And the reason why is Maryland's very talented, but their head coach, Kevin Willard, his dad was a coach in the college ranks for many years, and he was one of my favorites. He was one of my favorite coaches to bet on or against because I could count on him. When they were a favorite, they were not going to play well. But when they were an underdog, they would step up and play to the competition. So the man did not motivate his team unless he knew he had to. And the last game, I had Colorado State. I played Colorado State. I told everybody, bet Colorado State to the first 10, the first 15, the first 20, the first 30, because this guy will not have his team ready. He thinks they're going to win. This game, he doesn't think he's going to win. I think his team's going to be ready to go, and I think they're going to be firing all cylinders. This Florida team, most of these teams have improved so much. I had them a 114 rating to begin the year. By March 1st, they were a 131. They had improved 17 points. Since that time, they've improved another 8 points. And that is not just me. You look at Ken Palm, it's been the same thing at Ken Palm. He's seen the same thing. These blowouts force us all to continue to upgrade these teams too high. And now they're playing somebody who's a really good basketball team that they will not be able to blow out. There's just too much talent now. I think this is going to be a very close game. I think Maryland's going to have the lead at half, and that may be the worst thing for them to have the lead because Willard's such a bad coach that he'll have them fired up early. He'll go in at halftime. Oh, we won this game. We're leading at half. That's not the way you do it. But I think Maryland's going to be in this the entire game.
Okay, so the other game tomorrow, Texas Tech, Arkansas, 10. What are they? The 10 seed here, right? The biggest dog so far that we have remaining in the tournament. Coach Cal, can he keep pushing the right buttons here? Because, my goodness, a lot of people think Texas Tech is the team coming out of this West Regional. But, man, oh, man, I mean, Arkansas, the length, the athleticism, the coaching, what do we do here?
I think they made the wrong team the favorite. Did they make a mistake when they put this on the board? I don't know.
Yeah.
If I was an NBA scout right now, I would say, give me those 3 guys from Arkansas. Oh, no, there's a 4th guy from Arkansas, and give me that guy for Texas Tech. That's really going to be this ball game. And the big key here for Arkansas, Calipari has been trying to get this team to connect all year. They're playing their best basketball. Boogie Flan just came back. He's played a couple games. Mm-hmm. He's one of the top freshmen in the country. Now their best player, Thiero, is back. And Coach Cal, coach speak, he'll play 10, 12, 15 minutes. That's BS. Thiero's their best defensive player. They need him in the lineup. He averages 15 a game, 10 rebounds. best shot blocker they have. He's going to play 30 minutes. It's like saying LeBron James coming back after missing 8 games. Oh, he's only going to play 12 minutes tonight. That's bullshit. If James is going to play 35 minutes, the Arrow's playing 30-plus minutes. And now no one talks about this for Texas Tech. Their second or third leading scorer, Chance McMillan, he's their best three-point shooter. He didn't play the last 2 games. He's not playing this game. They are missing one of their key pieces. They didn't need him the last 2 games. They need him desperately in this game, and they're not going to have him. Arkansas is at full strength. Texas Tech is not. Arkansas is going to win this game straight up.
Woo! Wait, all right, so just to make sure we can recap here, and we're going to get our boy Chris Thurston, CT Betts, joining us coming up here. We'll get his thoughts on these 2 games. But just so, Kenny, I can understand here. You are looking tomorrow at upset central here. We like Maryland taking down Florida. Take the points, sprinkle a little something on the money line. And you think Coach Cal and Arkansas, maybe, just maybe, McMillan, I think, is a huge part of Tech. I agree with you. Without him, I don't think this is the same team. They have not been the same team. And Cal keeps pushing the right buttons. Very long, very athletic team. Boogie Flan back. You like both dogs tomorrow to possibly not only cover but win outright. Is that correct?
That's correct, Joe. And I like the third dog, too. I think CT's in. We'll get to the Duke Arizona game.
Oh, I cannot wait to hear what CT's got to say. Game Time Decisions will be back after this.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as the madness continues tomorrow. Sweet 16 action. Let me bring back in the Wizard, Kenny White, and our good friend, Chris Thurston. CT Betts in the house. And CT, now that we got you all set up here, I want to get your thoughts on the Wizards calling out of not 1 but 2 outright upsets tomorrow. Maryland taking down Florida and Arkansas taking down Texas Tech. What are you thinking in this one here, Ken?
Yeah, so I agree with him in the Maryland-Florida games, but I'll get to that in a second. But I caught the tail end of what Kenny was saying about Thiero playing and McMillan not playing. I agree. Thiero is obviously going to play. I agree he's going to play more minutes than Cal said. But I wouldn't take off the table the chances of a Chance McMillan playing in this game. I've heard a little birdie tell me that McMillan's going to be back on Thursday night, and like both of you said, that's a game changer for the Red Raiders as he fills it up from deep. And I don't want to discredit because Elijah Hawkins has been unbelievable filling in for McMillan, and I get it. It was versus Wilmington and then versus Drake, and yeah, you probably didn't need McMillan in either one of those games, even with the slow start with Wilmington. But McMillan will be a big piece. If they could get him back here, I kind of like the Red Raiders here. And let's be honest, Arkansas didn't really set the world on fire versus Johnny's. Johnny's played the worst game that they've played all year long. Arkansas was 2 from 19 from deep. Arkansas shoots the 3 like that versus Texas Tech. They're going to make them pay. I like the way the Texas Tech Red Raiders are playing. Grant McCaslin, talk about this. He comes from the Scott Drew coaching tree, puts together a great game plan. So if McMillan's in, I'm still waiting to get confirmation here. I like Texas Tech.
All right, so the other games that we got, CT, I'll come to you with BYU and Alabama. It's been all Alabama money. Opened up 3.5, now 5.5 here against BYU, which I give a lot of credit for. But, we've seen this from Bama recently as well here. Is it just too much for BYU?
Yeah, Joe, if you don't mind, I just wanted to go and touch on the Maryland game quickly.
Shoot.
Because I totally agree with Kenny. I think that Maryland is absolutely live in this game. And there's value in the Crab 5 here. It's been kind of a chalky tournament as we've seen, but I could see a couple dogs coming into play, like Kenny said, these next couple rounds here. And Terps are all around better team than UConn. They played a tough schedule this year in the Big Ten. They've been tested. I think they're going to be able to hang around with Florida offensively, and they're totally capable of knocking down the 3 ball. And they're much better on the defensive side of the ball than UConn. So I think they could cause havoc for the Gators. And the Terps, they haven't lost the game by more than 6 points all season long. I think that they're going to stay within the number this one on Thursday night. Todd Golden, I don't think he's a great coach, and he was rattled on Sunday. Both these teams, Florida and Maryland, had the Sunday scaries, but they got the job done. I think Golden is in for a tough task here, and Maryland's very alive in this game.
Well, we got 2 dogs in that round of games. We've got BYU, Alabama, Kenny, as well as Arizona and Duke. Are you calling for the same upsets?
Not in BYU, Alabama. I think that game's just right. Mark Sears is one of the most exciting players in the country. He is a difference maker. But Duke, Arizona, I do want to talk about that. These 2 teams played early in the season in Arizona. Duke won by 14. I started Duke at a 120 rating to begin the year. After the Arizona game, they were a 129. I upgraded them 9 points after 5 games. By February 22nd, 3 months later, they were a 131. So I had a pretty strong rating on them. But since that time, in the last 30 days, they've jumped 10 more points to a 146.5. And again, it was because the ACC was so down and really there was no real competition for Duke. They were so good and so much better than everybody else. They're blowing people out, and you had to keep upgrading their power rating. This Arizona team, I've got a 130.5 right now. I think they're better than that. I watched them the other night against Oregon, and I bet Oregon. And I watched the entire game, and I still thought I was going to cover. But I walked away saying Arizona's 10 points better than Oregon. Love, Bradley, and Lewis got so much speed. And their center, Henry Vassar, he wasn't a player early in the year. He played 12 minutes against Duke. He is now playing 30 minutes a game. They've got a rim protector. They got a guy in the middle. He's going to be a difference maker in this game. I think Duke wins, but I think Arizona's going to keep it close and they're going to cover.
CT, what do you think of these games?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Kenny on that. I was on Arizona on Sunday, and honestly, I wanted nothing to do with the game in the first 5 minutes because Ducks just they got out to a huge lead. I'm like, oh my God, what I do here? But Zona fought hard, got back into that game, and like Kenny said, that they took over there, and Love was phenomenal. And I think that this is going to be a totally different matchup for Duke than when they played Baylor. Honestly, Joe, I don't know how anybody in their right mind played Baylor on Sunday. They must have been watching a different Baylor team than me all year long. This is going to be a taller task for Duke here. But if Arizona gets down like they did to Ducks, they might be in some trouble because Duke will make you pay. But I think Arizona can stay within this number.
It is tomorrow. It begins the madness here, and we've got a couple of outright upsets these gentlemen are calling for here, and I think it's going to be a lot of what is going to dictate. I think that remains is going to happen, and it's going to start tomorrow. Those that have future tickets on any one of these teams that remain may have to scramble to try to figure some things out afterwards, though. So, CT Bets, Chris Thurston, as always, we appreciate it, brother. Kenny White, the Wizard, in the house. Again, guys, when we talk, we'll be a week from now. It'll be all about the Final Four and crowning a national champion. So enjoy the games, guys. Enjoy the madness. We'll have more Game Time Decisions coming up here on the Grid.
Slow play, drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Raineri when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
20-34. They are 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, do it every year when I want to hit myself in the head with a bat.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we look to close out this first hour. Getting ready, of course, before the madness. We got plenty of NBA action getting ready to tip off here, so it would be a good time to check in with our friends Joe Madden and Tom Vecchio to see what they have in store with tonight's Sports Millions Pick'em. What do you guys got going on?
Happy Wednesday, everyone. It's time to jump into some Sports Millions Pick'ems here on the grid. We've got a great day in the NBA. So, Tom, why don't we turn to the hardwood in the NBA today? Tomorrow, we'll look at college basketball, but it's a great day to look at some of these higher and lowers on Sports Millions here. What have you got for us?
Yeah, let's jump into some NBA. Like you said, we'll be back to a college tomorrow. Let's head out west. The Phoenix Suns hosting the Boston Celtics. And let's take Kristaps Porzingis higher than 27.5 points plus rebounds combined. He's been back for 4 games. Since he's come back, he's at 24 or more combined in all those 4 games. Is obviously combined for the points and the rebounds. In 3 of those games, he had 24 points alone. And then 2 games combined, he's been up at 37 and 38. We're getting a pretty nice ceiling from him in a lot of these games. We do have to note that Tatum is listed as doubtful for tonight. We did see Brown miss some of these recent games where he put up some of these big stats. We did see Tatum miss some of these games. So there's a lot of moving parts essentially for the Celtics. Brown is back tonight. Tatum not expected to play due to the ankle injury that he suffered the other day against the Kings. I like this matchup overall, and I like that they're relying on Porzingis essentially to be that primary scorer with Tatum out. Obviously, Brown will be there as well. So, and of course, the defense from the Suns is not something that we're expecting anything from. Now, on the Suns side of things, the Suns are a really interesting spot because they're fighting for literally every single win they can possibly get at this point because they need to secure their spot when it comes to play-in/playoff, whatever it might be. So let's take Devin Booker higher than 31.5 points plus assists. Booker's at 10-plus assists in 4 of his last 6 games. He leads the team in offensive usage rate at 29.3%. He's routinely at 17, 18, 20, 22 field goal attempts. The scoring should be there. I expect the Suns to be playing from behind, and we know the threes can get going from Booker. You know, it was debating between is it going to be Brown or Porzingis, is it going to be Booker or Durant, and really comes down to the level of consistency that we get from each player. And I like Porzingis on one side. I like Booker on the other side, and that's what I'm going with, giving us a 3x multiplier. Joe, what do you have?
I love where you're going there. I'm going to look at the matchup here between the LA Lakers and the Indiana Pacers. Now looking at this matchup here, both of these teams I think are going to come out strong and be able to put the points up on the board. We look at the Pacers, and this team has been rolling hot, winning their last 5 and 7 of their last 10. They're holding that number 4 seed right now in the Eastern Conference, and so much to play for in this game. And one player that's really been playing so hot out there is Tyrese Halliburton. I love what he's been able to bring since coming out of the break. And looking at him here, he has a number of 27.5 for his points and assists. Looking at how he's been firing these assists as of late, I have to take this higher than the 27.5 points and assists in this matchup. He's gone higher than 27.9 points and assists in his last 3 games. We've also seen in his last 11, hitting double-digit assists, and I really do think he's going to be firing away on both the points and the assists today. Now, looking at him at home, he is averaging 20.3 points per game, 9.7 assists. So I do think this is a big night, especially when you look at the Lakers' defense and the amount of assists they do give up to their opponents. He should feast in this one. I'm expecting at least double-digit assists in this, as well as those points to come in nice and strong. So give me Tyrese Halliburton higher than 27.5 points and assists. And then turning to the Lakers here. We know the Lakers have struggled over their last couple of games, not being able to record those wins. They have fallen to the number 5 seed spot, with Memphis getting the win last night, and they want to fight back to get that number 4 spot. Give me LeBron James to come out really strong in this matchup. He was able to get the points on the board in the last game versus the Magics, and I'm willing to take LeBron James higher than 24.5 points in this matchup today. He showed up big, like I said, versus the Magic with 24 points. He was able to go 9 of 18 for his shooting. And we look at him on the season, he's averaging right on that 24.9 points per game. He's hitting his threes at a strong rate at 38.1%. And I'm expecting against the defense here, the Pacers, that, are just around average for LeBron to come out nice and strong and
drumbeat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Raineri, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
20-34. They have 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, do it every year, and I want to hit myself in the head with a bat.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome in GameTime Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we're getting ready, of course, for a loaded night here in the world of sports, as we've got about half a dozen NBA games going to tip off this hour. We've got about 5 NHL games. We do have a couple of more college basketball games, the NIT, which will take center stage as March Madness will resume tomorrow and Friday for the Sweet 16. And I do want to remind you, by the way, if the Sports Millions Pick'em isn't your thing, don't forget this week about the Sports Millions Blitz'em.
Enjoy Sports Millions pick'ems, but hate making the picks yourself? Well, Sports Millions has you covered. Head on over and play Sports Millions Blitz'em right now and let the computer do the work. Go to sportsmillions.com/blitz'em to be able to win big prizes without having to make a single pick yourself. That's sportsmillions.com/blitz'em.
All right, good stuff there. And we are off and running in one of those NIT games right now. Kent State and Loyola Chicago underway in the first half of the double NIT matchups tonight. The late game will be UAB, the Blazers, taking on UC Irvine. The winner of both of these games will fly out to Indy for the NIT championship. So we'll keep an eye on those games as we get ready, of course, for we told you 6 games in the NBA and some injury news across the board in the association tonight. We are monitoring, especially when it comes to the New York Knicks and the LA Clippers. Knicks on the second of a back-to-back here, in which there were some questions with the Clippers and James Harden and whether he'd be available tonight. And he has been ruled in for this game. And good news for the Knicks, Mitchell Robinson has also been upgraded and is now available to play for them. So the Clippers have been absolutely red hot. There's nothing not to like here. The minute Kawhi Leonard appears to have got his legs under him, he's 100% healthy. Norm Powell back in that lineup. James Harden, this as of the last, or at least after the break, This is exactly the kind of Clippers team we thought we were going to get all year long. Took a little while for them to get there, but they have been rolling teams here. And the Knicks, still no Jalen Brunson, no McBride tonight. They are hoping, though, on the second of a back-to-back, they'll have enough in the tank to be able to hang with the red-hot L.A. Clippers. Current line still seeing Clippers -5. The total has ticked up from the open of 217.5. We're starting to see 220, even 219.5 available in the market. We did see this about 10 days ago, I believe, this game. And it was no Jalen Brunson once again for the Knicks. And I don't think Norm Powell was even available for that last game against the Clippers. And the Knicks, it was a very low-scoring game. Knicks only scored 92 points and a loss. And the team total for the New York Knicks tonight was close to 109.5 in this matchup here. That's a lot of points, I think, for a Knicks team on the second of a back-to-back. The Clippers are a lot of things, but they have been great defensively. They are not going to be running up and down the court. And if we're being honest, the Knicks in the second of a back-to-back probably looking to make this a half-court game anyway. So I don't mind the under look in this one at 219.5. I'd be willing to go under in this matchup, but we also have the Lakers looking to finally win a game again. It feels like it's been a hot minute. Just a couple of weeks ago, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and the Lakers are rolling right into the number 2 seed in the West. And then LeBron got hurt and the wheels fell off of this team. LeBron comes back. They've played no defense, and they are losing games, including just a couple of nights ago to the Orlando Magic in just embarrassing fashion as well. They continue to give up a ton of points, and the offense just has not been there. They will go into Indiana, who has been playing some great basketball, and we all know Indiana. They are the Pacers, which is ironic given the fact that they are going to want to play with a whole lot of pace here tonight. The Lakers have to go small ball here. They don't have a legit big or bigs to be able to roll out there. They give up a ton of open 3 looks. You know the Pacers are going to want to run up and down the court here. I don't know how this thing will stay under. I know it opened at 232. It was bet up to about 234.5, 235. I still think this is a over here tonight with the Lakers until they can show me they're capable or want to play defense at some particular point. They are going to have to score 120, 25 points to beat teams. And if that's the case, I think Indiana going to be right there with them. I'd be willing to look at an over. The Lakers, a -1, 1.5 point favorite on the road against this Indiana team. And not the way they currently look. These two teams in current form, Indiana has been heads and tails above what we have seen from the Lakers. Also, the late game tonight, still waiting on confirmation on what Jason Tatum is going to do. The overwhelming feeling was that he would not play tonight, given the ankle injury that he sustained a couple of nights ago. They're taking on the Phoenix Suns. This is the 4th game in 6 nights for the Boston Celtics, 3rd and 4 on the road. And he rolled his ankle a couple of games ago, didn't play in the last one. Now he's somehow going to play in a game that, let's face it, really doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot to Boston. They're kind of locked into that number 2 seed. I'm not quite sure why they would play him, but the market has bet it as if they think he's going to play. This is the late game tonight. So I would wait. It would not shock me at all if we get a couple of guys that we learn not playing for Boston tonight last minute, and this line comes crashing back down. It opened up 2.5, 3 is what the Boston Celtics were a favorite for. But the Phoenix Suns have been red hot, and the Phoenix Suns are desperate. They got to win games as they're trying to solidify that final play-in spot there to make sure that they've got postseason basketball in their future. And thank goodness they've got Kevin Durant and Devin Booker playing like, well, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker of what we have come to know They are playing some tremendous basketball, and Kevin Durant has been absolutely on fire. It feels like he's averaging about 38, 40 points a game. Devin Booker getting involved. The kid Ryan Dunn, the rookie out of Virginia, unbelievable defensive effort that he has brought and really kind of elevated this team. Grayson Allen back in the picture. Looks like he's healthy again. Phoenix is very difficult at home, and I would be very weary of confusing the Phoenix of a couple of months ago with what we have seen over the last couple of weeks. It is night and day what we have gotten from the Phoenix Suns, and 6 is an awful lot of points for a Boston Celtics team who, hey, listen, they may win this game, but asking them to win by multiple possessions on the road in a 4th game in 6 nights, 3rd on the road in 4 nights, that's a big ask here. I would look to bet Phoenix sooner, and I'd hold off to bet Boston until later. We'll have more as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we get ready for more madness to begin tomorrow night with the Sweet 16. Well, we got a little madness here for you right now, and who better to talk college hoops with than our good friend Colby Dant in the house as we just watched Colby, Illinois State take down that CBI championship there, beating Cleveland State 79-68. They were a 2-point favorite. They handled business. Another over. shocker in these extra tournaments in college hoops. The NIT, 2 games here tonight. Kent State, Loyola just underway, 15 apiece at the 14-minute mark. And then UAB, UC Irvine, winners of these games will play the championship for the NIT. How did you look at those 2 games here tonight?
Yeah, I love the NIT action. Love the CBI Daytona Beach. Well, it wasn't rocking, but it's basketball. What are we gonna do? But I like Loyola Chicago. But I think it closed at a worse number. I got it last night at 4.5. But either or, I think 5.5 can still bring you home. They've been playing on fire at that building, and they actually have the crowd that. Sister Jean might even be there. But another thing I like is the under. I think it's at 142.5. They have been an elite defensive team in that building. And to me, specifically that building. I think the whole handicap is that building because they have been fire there all year. So I'm going to take the under. I'm sitting on -4.5, but I know in game you might even, I don't know what you can give 3.5 right now, I think. So give me them. Valentine's got that team playing better, man. I know Kent State's been a good team all year, but I think they'll run into some troubles here, especially with that crowd behind them.
Yeah, trending to the over again. Shocker as Loyola and Kent State right now, 18-17 at the 14-minute mark. In-game number 159.5. That closed at 142, which is hilarious. And the UAB-UC Irvine game is interesting, too, tonight because UAB has played all their games out west. And let's face it, they've beaten some teams that we didn't know what kind of mindset they were going to be after blowing it to Memphis there in their conference tournament with a trip to March Madness on the line. You weren't sure what you were going to get for them, but they have responded in a big way. Do they have one more in them? Because they've been bet like everyone knows what the score is.
Yeah, and that's a credit to Andy Kennedy. Because I was, I think, like you, coming to the tournament, I was like, if they play to their potential, they could win the T. If they're, sometimes your team's all checked out. You got players in the portal. You heard Izzo went viral talking about that. But to Andy Kennedy's credit, not only has he got the team together, I think they had one guy hit the portal, but that was like not one of their top players. Lendenberg, Yaxel Lendenberg has been an absolute force all year, let alone the NIT. They went out to Santa Clara, 7.5-point dogs. I rode them on the money line. Why would I jump off here? I know Irvine. Turner does a great job with those guys. They probably should have, I know they weren't even on the bubble after losing to UC Irvine, but they've won 30 games. They probably should have been in. But I think UAB is just way more athletic than them. I think they will give them problems offensively. But I'll tell you, the overplay that I know that I think you might have your eyes on is appealing as well, because UAB, what they do the other night, UAB scored I forget the exact number, but they scored a ton of points at Santa Clara the other night.
Yep.
And with them staying out in California, because they were in Santa Clara like 4 days ago. They scored 88, by the way, against the Broncos. If they even get close to that thing, if they even get 80, I think you're looking good on this over, and I think they will. So, yeah, I mean, you looked at what they did. They scored in the 70s against Memphis. Memphis's length so much more than UC Irvine's. So I will load up on UAB here. I'm gonna sprinkle the money line because I think they're just they have a different caliber athlete. They have a lot of SEC transfers on that team, and I will also ride the over there.
I am now seeing 3.5s popping up in the market, which means the money continues to come in on UAB. Again, UC Irvine is the home team here for these NITs. The championship will be in Indy. All right, so we've got still a couple of games in these other tournaments happening, but of course March Madness resumes in the Sweet 16 tomorrow. I've had a couple of guys on here that think, for as chalky as this tournament has been, maybe the outright upsets begin in the Sweet 16 here. So tomorrow, I think it opens up. You've got the Western region there with Florida taking on Maryland. in that game. 6.5. Florida is a favorite. I just worry about depth with Maryland. They got 5 great starters, and then after that, they've got absolutely nobody here, Colby. While Florida can throw 4 or 5 guys at Queen and Reese, and if they get in foul trouble, what does Maryland do then?
100%. And honestly, both these teams probably didn't deserve to win the game they just played in. But Florida was able to figure it out. Maryland was able to figure it out, whether it was a travel, whatever you want to say. They got it done, right? They put themselves in a spot to make the call happen. The ref didn't call. So credit to both these teams for figuring it out. But I'm like you, and you kind of hit the nail on the head with the rotation for Maryland's an issue. Kevin Willard, I never liked in March. I guess you could say Todd Golden hasn't looked great in March, especially after that UConn game. But I just think Florida's too talented. They could throw too many bodies at him. He's back in San Francisco. I know he's playing in the same gym where he was the coach of the Dons. I don't know if that gives you too much of it. Comfortability is comfortability there. But really, I just think I just don't think Maryland's that good. They have some guys, but I think Florida's level of talent is just much higher than Maryland's. So I'm going to lay the number. I think Florida wins by double digits personally.
I'm with you here. I mean, you were outplayed by Colorado State. I mean, Florida was in a war against the 2-time defending national champions who weren't rolling over for anybody. Nico Medved almost outcoached you. We'll have more, though, with Colby and March Madness as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were
slow play, drumbeat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Raineri.
Only on Sports.
Their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
20-34. They are 14 games below 500. Any given night, you have no idea who is going to play for Philadelphia. Embiid has missed so many more games than he has actually played this year.
I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. I will not bet on the Ravens because for the last 4 years now, I do it every year, and I want to hit myself in the head.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we welcome back in our good friend Colby Dant. The Sweet 16 resumes tomorrow, March Madness here. And Colby, a couple of other interesting games to kick it off tomorrow. Arkansas, Texas Tech is the other one where I've heard a lot of love for Arkansas. Chance McMillan doesn't sound like he's going tomorrow. They say it's a game-time decision, but he's a big part of what Texas Tech, when you go up against a team like Arkansas, who's going to want to muck this thing up and make it a dog and street fight here. Do we trust Texas Tech here to lay the 5.5 at this point?
I actually like Texas Tech a lot in this spot. Now, obviously, you want McMillan to play, but he's been dinged up. They have big wins without him this season. Now, obviously, you'd all your weapons, but my logic is this: like, Grant McCasland is a really good defensive coach. Now, he was at Baylor when they won the Natty, and he's since left Baylor, and Baylor has not been the same. He went to North Texas where they won a tournament game and great defensive team. He's going to go zone. I was shocked Rick Pitino never went zone in that game. The Kansas game, when Kansas went zone, Arkansas couldn't buy a bucket. They can't shoot. They cannot shoot. As much as Arkansas has been a good story, credit to Calipari, they were better than St. John's the other day. But St. John's, I thought Calipari really outcoached Pitino. I was shocked that, to open up the second half, they just ran the same play, it seemed like, with guys beating them off the dribble after two screens, and they were late on the rotation. I don't think they're going to give them that. I think they're going to go zone, and one of the things I like about Texas Tech, even if the injuries are a factor, is they shoot the ball way better than St. John's does. They're going to have some guys that can hit the open three. And one of the big things is they have a couple shot creators, whether it's Toppin, whether it's Williams. They got some guys that can create the shot. I like laying the points there, but I think the real thing will be, I don't think they're going to let Arkansas beat you off the dribble. They're going to go zone. They're going to make you have to hit jump shots, and I don't think they can.
That's a lot of big ifs there for Arkansas, but Coach Cal's done a heck of a job pushing all the right buttons with this crew, that is for sure. The other side of those games tomorrow, though, Bama taking on BYU, and, of course, Duke taking on Arizona. I don't think Duke is losing to Arizona. I think Duke's or the team left that could very well give them the biggest run for their money, I believe, is Alabama. I don't think it's Arizona. But what do you think of those other two games here? Is there a dog in your future in those?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the Arizona one. I thought they looked bad in their win. And I think Duke, the way they're playing at that level they're playing at, the defense is playing phenomenally. And Arizona's all over the place to me. So I like laying that number with Duke. But I will say the BYU-Alabama game to me is the intriguing one. Ever since BYU switched up in mid-January and put the bigs in the starting lineup there, it has worked out for them for the most part. I think they've only lost a couple games. And I think those bigs, I'm talking about Moat Mag, the transfer from Rutgers. I'm talking about Keita, the other big man. I think they can actually give Alabama a little bit of problems. Alabama likes to get a bunch of easy buckets around the rim. I don't know that they'll have that luxury. Now, Bama could still win this game because their guard play is so good, but I like taking BYU in the points, and I would not be shocked if they won this thing. But I'm just going to take the points because you're getting more than two possessions, or you're getting 5.5. So, I think this will be a one-possession game, two-possession game. With the chance of BYU to steal this thing outright.
A lot of public. It feels like the trendy dog is Ole Miss going up against Izzo. The amount of depth on that Michigan State team it's like Florida to me. It's like, my goodness here. But does Ole Miss upend Izzo?
I don't think so. I think Izzo's teams had gut checks all year. I waited for them to have a bad week, and I feel like that never came. And they had gut check games where they were down 10 to Oregon and East Lansing. They had games down, 5, 10 in critical moments. And I was really impressed by this team's will and determination to get that win. I like this spot. Rebounding, circle the rebounding. Michigan State's got a huge advantage here. I love Sparty to get it done against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think there are some opportunities here over the next couple of days here to jump in, but pick your spots carefully, to say the least, because Michigan, maybe their reign of winning games 3 points or less is over. It wouldn't shock me at all, but we'll have much more on it. And Colby, we look forward to talking to you, brother. Game Time Decisions will return after this.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome in. Game Time Decisions here, rolling on this Wednesday here, the final Wednesday of March. The madness resumes tomorrow as the Sweet 16 will take center stage. But in the meantime, we got some other things going on, like, Major League Baseball. Opening day is tomorrow, and the start of the little Texas swing on the PGA Tour, the Houston Open, will also be center stage tomorrow through the weekend. The last couple of tune-ups until we get to Augusta and the first major of the year. And who better to break it all down with than our good friend. There he is, Brady Cannon here. As Brady, I had mentioned this earlier, non-signature events. This is, the end of the Florida tour. You got this week here in Houston, then San Antonio, and then, of course, Augusta. Very interesting that I see a name like Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy showing up at the Houston Open. And the only thing I can come up with is that these guys they're working on their game for Augusta. It's not about winning this tournament. This is much more about them trying to figure some things out before they head into to Augusta. What do you think?
I totally agree with you, and maybe more so figuring things out for Scotty than for Rory. I think Rory just wants to stay fresh. He's hot as a pistol, right? Coming off the win at the Players' Championship, one at Pebble Beach before that, the first time ever in his career. He's had 2 wins prior to Augusta, and now, all that hype surrounding him. Is he finally going to slip on that green jacket and complete the career Grand Slam? Scotty, it's not like this guy's been in a slump, but he's finishing top 20 and top 10 instead of winning and finishing top 5. We know he got a late start to the year with the hand injury over Christmas, and he just hasn't found that Scotty gear yet, and it could come this week. He's finished runner-up at this tournament twice, but of the 2 tournaments we have prior to Augusta, the Houston Open and the Valero, this golf course here is much more major championship prep like. The shaved runoff areas around the green are very similar to Augusta, where you really have to have that touch to be able to get up and down. It's a long course. It's a par 70 at nearly 7,500 yards. It's a beast. It's a very difficult golf course. So this is a really good test going into Augusta National. Next week, very different. But we're going to get a lot of star power in the field next week, too. This week, we've got the two biggest names in the game. Next week, we've got a laundry list of those second-tier guys. So everybody kind of planning their schedule on how they want to roll into Magnolia Lane in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, it's we've got some course history. A lot of these guys in there. It's a bomber's course. The longer you are, the better chance you have here of scoring. We've seen Steven Yeager. We've seen Finau do well here. Who are some of the guys you're looking at taking some bets with here?
I pretty much went with bombers as well. I started with Maverick. One thing I looked at, Joe, is, and this is not necessarily a correlated course for me, but guys that have done well at Torrey Pines, we know how big that golf course is, nearly 7,800 yards. That guys that hit it short aren't exactly, chopping up the trophies there at Torrey Pines. But Maverick McNeely, we saw him finish runner-up at Torrey Pines recently. He's had finishes of 20, 19th, and 27th here. This guy is really playing as well as anybody. Now, he's missed his last two cuts, but, I think he probably needed to come down a bit off of that hard luck loss at Torrey where Oberg got him at the end. And I think this is a good reset spot for him. And then I went to Thomas Dietrich, another guy who's finished done very, very well at Torrey Pines and finished runner-up here in Houston last year. And both McNeely and Dietrich can really putt, and they've got recent victories on tour. So I think the form is fine. And then I went with a guy, Alex Smalley, who's probably playing the best golf of his career. He's had multiple top 25 finishes already this season. He can hit the ball long. He really scrambles well. And then another guy that is one of the best drivers, other than Rory McIlroy, this guy is absolutely one of the best drivers of the golf ball, and that's Keith Mitchell. Got him at 66-1. I've seen even higher. People staying away from Keith Mitchell this week, but he's got the ball striking chops and the work off of the tee. And then three longer bombs at 80-1 and deeper. I talk about Torrey Pines. For the Farmers, we hit Harris English there, and I went with English again. I think this guy has done well at these big, long golf courses like Torrey, like Winged Foot. Got him at 80-1. He can really scramble. He can really putt. And then Nick Taylor, another guy that won earlier this year, great ball striker. He's the one guy I have that doesn't bomb it off the tee, but, he does everything else very, very well. So I took a stab with him. And then finally, yet another guy who hits it long and has done well at Torrey Pines, and that's Nikolai Højgaard, triple digits at 100-1. So, with Scotty and Rory, priced so low, everybody else, the shortest guy I went with was 50-1. I've got anywhere from 50 to 100-1, 7 different guys. We'll see if we can nail one of them.
So it's interesting, too. I know I've heard a lot about Aaron Rai, maybe in that top 10, top 20 market, a guy that's played well, but he's not the longest guy off the tee, right? And which is interesting. And whatever happened, this feels like a Sahith Theegala kind of course where the way he's off the tee, because he's kind of been all over the place, but it feels like a tournament where a guy like that can get right here, which leaves open a lot of opportunities here for some of them.
I'm right there with you, Joe. Aaron Rai is definitely a popular name this week. He's a very, very good player. You're right. He doesn't have the length off the tee, but he's kind of like Nick Taylor, where he's deadly accurate. He's a great ball striker. He can really play the irons. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he has success at all. Theegala is perfect for this track. In fact, he has a win at Silverado, which is one of my correlated courses. His only PGA Tour win came at a course that I think has some similarities to Memorial Park here in Houston. And I looked at Theegala and I just couldn't get there because his form, like you say, has been all over the place. He's been really erratic. It's been a little while now too. And overall, the iron play has not been good. He can't hit it straight. And then, every now and then he'll show up and he'll have a round where, he shoots 62 or he finishes top 10. But for the most part, he really hasn't been making a lot of noise. Again, I wouldn't be surprised because he should be a great fit for this golf course. And I've seen a lot of action come in on him. I just don't like the timing. I don't like the current form.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, he would have been one of my first choices, but watching him in the last couple of tournaments, he looks like he's got no clue what's happening to his game. But, we've got a look here at 2 weeks in Texas, and then, of course, it's Augusta. And for those that are joining us here, Brady, have you added anything to your list of future bets with the Masters here? Are you holding steadfast here, or are you thinking about adding anybody to the card?
I'm probably going to add one or two more. I'm not sure who it's going to be just yet. I currently have 5 in pocket. 4 of them I feel really good about. I've got Hideki Matsuyama, Colin Morikawa, Brooks Koepka, who just finished runner-up recently in Singapore. And then I've got Tommy Fleetwood at 50-1, which is a pretty nice price on an awful good player.
Yep.
Now, the other one I added is a total shot in the dark, and it's just because what he's done at Augusta before and some of the correlated courses. It's Cam Young. Guy's missed 4 out of the last 5 cuts. It'll take a minor miracle for him to win at Augusta, but he's done really, really well here in the past, and at 100-1, who knows? But those 4 selections, Fleetwood, Koepka, Matsuyama, Morikawa, I really like. Maybe I'll add 1 or 2 more. We'll see when I get with you next week, Joe.
I love it. All right, Brady, we will see you again, and Game Time Decisions will be back after this.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Wednesday in the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you stopping by as we're off and running here in the NBA tonight. Got a handful of games underway, a couple of more late night, Milwaukee and Denver, as well as Boston and Phoenix. And the good news is, of course, coming up top of the hour, in-game live with our next guest, Scotty Wetzel will be taking over and he will keep you posted all throughout the night on what's happening in these games, Scotty. And some interesting ones in the NBA here tonight, to say the least. Some of these lines I scratch in my head at. I do not understand why the Lakers would be a favorite against anybody right now, especially Indiana at home, but yet they just tipped it off, and the Lakers closed as a small favorite here. What did you think? I mean, is now the game that the Lakers all of a sudden figure out how to play defense and get back on track?
Yeah, I know. The kind of weird line, right? Even how about the Knicks being the home underdogs? I mean, I know it's no Jalen Brunson, but they just tipped off. I was curious to see if, in fact, Karl Anthony Towns was playing, because if he is, I don't know why they would be a 4.5-point underdog. But all the sites I looked at said there were nobody really playing outside obviously Brunson. So, but yeah, with the Pacers, I bet Lakers have lost 5 in a row on the road, 3-7 their last 10 overall. It hasn't changed since LeBron has come back. In fact, things have gotten worse since LeBron has come back from his groin injury there, or heel injury, whatever injury he had, the latest one, right? So I know it's got sucker written all over, but Indiana needs the game, fighting for playoff positioning in the East. Give me the Pacers plus the 1.5. We'll see what happens.
Well, the same thing, too. I mean, there were some questions about whether or not Harden was going to play for the Clippers, who have been absolutely red hot, but he was ruled in about an hour ago. So was Mitchell Robinson. So we'll see where that one goes. I still thought the under was the way to go with these two teams. But this Milwaukee game went from Denver being a 2.5-point favorite to Lillard out for the season and Giannis not playing tonight. And look at this number, Scotty. If this is not the quintessential fade the big move because of the injury, you got to have a system for this, my man. Please tell me you do.
I do, absolutely. And if you go to Roto World, one of the sites I use to find if guys are playing or not, they say the Joker and Michael Porter Jr. are questionable. So there's a chance that these guys won't play. And you got to know that line is going to come all the way back if those guys aren't playing, right? But it's up to 11. Yep. We've seen this 1,000 times, Joe, 1,000 times. The star players, I know there's 2 of them. But we've seen that, with Lillard, obviously, and Giannis not playing. These teams just rally to the cause. They just do. Whether it's rigged, whether there's a conspiracy, whether the main team, Denver, that's favored, has a letdown, the other guys are all pumped up. Whatever it is, I'm telling you, way more times than not, that the team that's the underdog ends up either at least covering, if not winning outright. So you want to give me 11, 10.5, 11? I'll take it on the Milwaukee Bucks. You watch them play well tonight.
I mean, listen, the late night game, I don't know why Tatum would play in this game. And even though he's now questionable, this feels like one of those games, Scotty, where everybody ran to the window to bet Boston because they think Tatum's playing. 5 minutes before tip-off at 10 o'clock tonight, guess who's not going to be playing? Tatum, Porzingis, Brown. I guarantee it, and this line is going to crater here. So it feels like that's another one of these situations where Boston, I don't need this game. Phoenix needs this game, Scotty.
Oh, yeah. Phoenix, definitely. Boston will start. They're 5 back of Cleveland. They're not catching, right, the Cavaliers with 10 games left, 5 back. They know that. And they're 7 ahead of the Knicks. So, and the Knicks aren't clearly catching them. So this is, for all intents and purposes, an exhibition game. So why, you're right, Joe, why in the world, in the world of the NBA, where every superstar player, takes off at the slightest little injury, and Tatum and the Celtics are actually halfway decent, I'll admit that. But that all said, why in the world would they risk anything? It's been a long road trip. It's been a successful road trip. They're red hot. They're 11-1. Their last 10-1. Their last 11. There's just no reason to play these guys. So, but it's up to 6. Phoenix is one of the worst against the spread teams in the NBA, but that's generally as a favorite. You're getting them 6 points now. I'm going to take a stab on the Suns, who are fighting for their playoff lives, and not just playoff lives, like play-in lives. I mean, they really, are in danger of not even making the play-in situation, let alone the actual top 6 playoffs. So give me the Suns at home getting 6.
I want to ask you about the late NIT game coming up here tonight, Scotty, because the money rolling in on UAB, like people know what the score is. It is now down to, I saw 2.5 threes in the market here. UAB opened up as a 5-point dog to UC Irvine here. If UAB is going to get that much love and win this game, how does this not go over this game, Scotty?
I know, and I actually looked it up, Joe. We did the show this past weekend, and I actually took the time and looked it up. Now, it did go only 1-3 last night, but heading into last night, 24 overs, 8 unders, and 1 push in non-NCAA tournament games. And all the NIT, CBI, 24-8. So this line opened up 158.5. That's where I'm looking at. It's all the way down to 155.5, and I see it at 154.5 in some circles. I'm going with the over on both of them. Why not? Kent State Loyola is underway as well. That was 141.5. They're right on pace, 32-30. But I'm going to go same thing with UAB, UC Irvine. Yeah, give me the over 155.5, 154.5.
Yeah, I agree here. I do not understand, but boy, oh boy, UAB is getting all sorts of love here tonight in this one. And you mentioned it, Kent State Loyola underway, Scotty, 32-30 in the final minute in the first half. It is still trending towards the over, 143.5. And can I tell you, I'd be looking at that second half total, and I'd be looking to go over there as well, Scotty.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's on pace. You're going to get another 3 to 5 points in the final minute here, so it's going to be right around halfway, a little bit less. But I definitely like the over. Yeah, second half as well.
Over it is. Yep. All right, we're going to see you coming up here in about 9 minutes, top of the hour. In-game live is coming your way. You'll cover all these games. In the meantime, we got much more to cover here as Game Time Decisions. We'll be back with an update in the NBA. We'll let you know what's happening next on the Grid.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in here. Game Time Decisions on the SportsGrid Network as we look to close up this edition with you. But in-game live coming up here in just about 5 minutes. Scotty Wetzel and company will have you covered with all the action here tonight, including The NBA, which has a couple games underway already, Washington 60-49 over the Philadelphia 76ers about 2 minutes ago before the break in that one. The Lakers and Indiana knotted up at 16 apiece. Got about 6 minutes left to go in the first there. The Clippers were getting boat raced early by the New York Knicks. It's now 18-12. This line had flipped to the Clippers getting 3 from laying 5 to getting 3 in just the first 4 minutes of the first quarter. We jumped in at +3 on the LA Clippers. It is now an 18-12 New York Knicks advantage. Got about 5 minutes to go in that one. Toronto and Brooklyn, as if anybody cares, but it is 17-8, Toronto on top. Also, Kent State and Loyola, 37-33, coming up at the end of the first half. That is the first NIT action here tonight, the second game. UAB taking on UC Irvine. The winners of both of these games will head to Indy to play in the NIT championship. Don't forget, tomorrow it begins. The madness kicks up again tomorrow and Friday, not to mention Saturday and Sunday. But the Sweet 16 will start tomorrow, and we will be back again tomorrow for a special edition of Game Time Decisions from 6 p.m. Eastern to 7. And then, of course, we'll give way to Bracket Central, who will have you covered with all that is going on here with those Sweet 16 matchups. And again, you're going to get it right around 7:09, the first game. That's going to be BYU, Alabama. Then you're going to have Maryland and Florida closer to 8 o'clock. And then the late games will be Arizona, Duke, and Texas Tech and Arkansas. Still seeing Duke getting some love in the marketplace. 9.5s continuing to show up in that one. Alabama has been getting nothing but love. Not a whole lot of love for BYU here, as they are getting 5.5 points. They got plenty of shooting in BYU. The problem is, so does Alabama here. I think it's a game in which Duke will win against Arizona, who has played worse against the better competition that they faced. And don't forget, early on in the year, we saw this Duke-Arizona game. Yeah, it didn't go well for Arizona in that one. Don't think it's going to go well for Arizona in this one. And I do think Alabama, for those of you who have a ticket on the other side of the bracket, maybe a Texas Tech or a Florida or a Michigan State, your best chance at Duke not showing up in the Final Four or the championship game from that side, I do think will be Alabama here with an opportunity to knock them off. But you got to win the games tomorrow first. Duke will have an opportunity to impose their will on Arizona, and Alabama will certainly show that they are worthy of consideration as a national champion. And then Florida and Maryland. Florida still laying 6.5 points over the Terrapins there. The total has been getting some love in that one too, up to 157 right now, 157.5. It would not shock me at all if that game lands in the mid to upper 160s. I do think the over is worth a look in that one. And of course, we've had conflicting tonight here thoughts on this Texas Tech and Arkansas matchup. Arkansas, the number 10 seed, the longest shot of the crew right now, taking on number 3 seed Texas Tech in the West Regional. And I can tell you, Texas Tech, 5.5 points. It's held steady. There are some rumors that maybe Chance McMillan, their lead guard, could play. But I think if you're looking to back Texas Tech, you've got to believe that if he plays or if he doesn't play, they're still going to beat Calipari and this Arkansas team. And everything Calipari has done to this point, every button he has pushed, has worked with this Arkansas team. A little Calipari magic. Can it continue We'll have so much more on the Sweet 16 coming up. In the meantime, In-Game Live is coming your way. We'll see you again tomorrow on Game Time Decisions. Enjoy the night. We'll see you soon.